Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 113 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. Cultivator Territory, Mingyu World Groups. This is the absolute territory of the cultivator Lord Ming Huang. The order of the entire world group operates according to the will of Ming Huang. Here, there is no soil for sin to survive. The core holy land of the Mingyu World Group's Ming Huang Holy Land gathers cultivators from all corners of the world group. To come to Ming Huang Holy Land, two conditions must be met. One is strength, the other is merit. Both are factors of consideration. For those weak in merit, strength needs to be extremely strong. With extremely high merit, even low strength can bring one to the Holy Land, to be close to the Great Lord. If burdened with sin, no matter how strong, one will be punished and has no qualification to receive the Lord's teachings. Buzz. Endless light of thunder illuminates the entire Ming Huang Holy Land. Ming Huang Holy Land's cultivators are peaceful. In the place where the Lord resides, no trace of sin can exist. Cultivator Fu Qianyi, a half-primordial enlightened. In pursuit of escaping the braided cage, he cultivated using billions of souls as nourishment. In the past 320 million eras, he has cumulatively devoured creatures exceeding 1 trillion in number. The sin is heavy. I suggest the death penalty. The death penalty requires reporting, to be executed by world-level primordial personally. I think the death penalty is unnecessary. We can sentence him to endless wind punishment, which serves both as deterrent and contribution to the cultivator camp in the Wind Punishment Land. Wind Punishment Land, a mine within the endless primordial space, where life in the braided cage originally cannot survive. However, with formation, prevents the erosion of endless primordial force. There, even without erosion of endless primordial force, the natural wind within the mine will repeatedly make the half-primordial enlightened suffer as if being flayed while continually mining. The sentence is eternal. Unless escaping the braided cage, there is hope for a change in fate. For those half-primordial enlightened, they would rather endure endless punishment, seeking the chance to escape the braided cage. Such sin, he doesn't deserve to live. I suggest the death penalty. I also suggest the death penalty. Great sin warrants execution. Cannot give him a shred of vitality. Fu Qianyi is quite gifted. Endless wind punishment is enough deterrent. Without escaping the braided cage, never to rise again. One by one, suggestions were made. Among our 9, 3 suggest endless wind punishment, 6 suggest death penalty. Final decision, death penalty. Report immediately. In Luo Feng's absolute territory, the matters were handled by Cheng, who commanded numerous high-level primordial life. In Ming Huang's absolute territory, however, a world-level primordial was responsible for commanding and handling various matters. Fu Qianyi, death penalty. A majestic figure learned the news, glanced at the weapon brought forth, the weapon once used by Fu Qianyi. If he were the Lord, a thought leveraging causality could descend as memory pollution. Even if there is source world origin blocking, the information transmitted by the Lord could lead a small being in the braided cage to have their soul self-collapse and become annihilated. World-level primordial needs to rely on objects to descend causality attacks. If the pollution of high-level primordial life, the half-primordial enlightened within the braided cage might still endure. Pollution descended by world-level primordial life, even if it's merely memory pollution, unless the half-primordial enlightened will escape the braided cage, they can't survive. Buzz. The majestic figure, looking at Fu Qianyi's weapon, leveraging the causality of the weapon, saw Fu Qianyi hiding in the source world. With a glance, memory pollution transmitted. Fu Qianyi, already anxious and uneasy, painfully clutched his head. In a few moments his soul twisted and collapsed, completely annihilated. In Ming Huang Holy Land. Beside a vast lake, there is a wooden hut where Ming Huang resides alone. She has set the rules, her followers will act accordingly. Within her absolute territory, depending on the severity of sin, various levels of punishment exist. However, for a world-level primordial to directly execute, it is rare. After all, there are laws in place, and those daring to breach them are few. My primordial thunder path, 8 parts thunder, 2 parts water path. Star can comprehend the second primordial level path, why can't I? To become a lord, one has to be extremely proud. I'm entirely possible to create the primordial water path, focusing on water. Though extremely difficult, progress exceedingly slow. Yet as long as progress continues slowly, there's hope. As long as not encountering a bottleneck, Ming Huang won't give up. Aside from Starlight, other lords are attempting ways to strengthen. Like Yuan, Nai Ji, all can see hope. Like Wulan, Ming Huang, Jin, Mo Man are all trying to create a second primordial level path, but their progress is painfully slow because the first primordial level path aligns closely with their nature. The second primordial level path is less aligned, making comprehension harder. Luo Feng's nature places more emphasis on life. Primordial life and death Tao, focusing on life, cultivation proceeds smoothly. Even succeeded with power-breaking technique. Yet primordial blade path focuses on destruction. Though Luo Feng has deep research into destruction, the degree of alignment clearly diminishes. Even with the current Lord level insight, comprehension, thinking speed, comprehending complete primordial blade path remains challenging. Luo Feng, who employs power-breaking technique, comprehending the second primordial level path, is merely slow. Like Ming Huang, Jin, their progress is absurdly slow, and always at risk of hitting a bottleneck. Focusing on water. Ming Huang feels discomfort as she comprehends. Her strong personality, focusing on the water path, is excessively challenging for her. Ming Huang. Yuan's voice sounded, negotiations failed, prepare to battle with the Ice Peak camp. Battle? Ming Huang's eyes burst with golden thunder. Compared to comprehending and cultivating, battle was much less difficult. It's time. Ming Huang's fighting spirit surged. In her bones, she never fears battle. Jin, currently seated on a throne. Above his head are 12 silver-white sharp horns like a crown, his sharp fingers gently tapping the armrest, while holding a glass of blood-like fine wine in the other hand, his silver-white scale armor tail slowly swaying on the ground. He is leisurely, content, watching over his absolute territory. In his absolute territory, the myriad clans compete for supremacy, a life-and-death struggle. This is the allure of life. Under the threat of death, life shines with its most brilliant colors. Jin admires some of the strong among the myriad clans' confrontation. If it were too comfortable, it would only raise a group of useless individuals. Luo Feng also follows the primordial life and death Tao. I thought he would understand me best. Although he acknowledges the survival of the fittest, he is so hostile towards tribulation cultivators. Jin gently shook his head. What about tribulation cultivators? They can, with their own abilities, become an eternal tribulation of a source world. That is also a testament to their own exceptional capabilities. Jin, on the contrary, appreciates those who, through cycle after cycle, completely suppress the tribulation cultivators that threaten a source world. He considers them the most exceptional selected under the survival of the fittest. Although Lord Mo Man does not hold the tribulation cultivators in as high regard, he also acknowledges it as the natural outcome of survival of the fittest and does not oppose it. Since the temperaments do not match, then stay away from each other. Jin, inherently proud, as a lord, an undying being, sees no need to please anyone. Jin. Yuan's voice sounded, the negotiation has failed. Prepare to go to war with the Ice Peak camp. Ha ha, it has come. Jin smiled. This is what he likes the most. Whoosh. In an instant, Jin had already vanished. Is it going to be war? It's here. Wulan, transformed into a massive celestial body, laughed and already traversed time and space. He never feared any battle, nor any opponent. Is it going to war? Within the endless primordial space, a vast land of flesh suddenly merged into Lord Nai Ji. Lord Nai Ji was very excited. As long as it was about hunting the ancestor, he would be very willing. Every ancestor's corpse would become his gain. War? Countless fluctuations spread through the endless primordial space, even spreading to some naturally primordial races, sensing the souls of countless creatures, their joy, anger, hatred, all these strands of fluctuations merged into the primordial fluctuation, even the ancestors couldn't detect it. Interesting. Countless fluctuations were annihilated and dissipated while in the home source world the fluctuation rapidly strengthened. With the speed of energy absorption by the home source world origin, in a few breaths, Lord Mo-Man had returned to pinnacle state. Under usual circumstances, he was dispersed into innumerable fluctuations, blending into the endless primordial space. Only under special circumstances would he concentrate into the main battle avatar. Ice Peak Camp? Lord Mo-Man's eyes showed anticipation. I have arrived. Starlight Lord had fully observed the entire negotiation process, even predicting the reaction of the Ice Peak Camp earlier than Yuan. He had already set out in advance. Origin Continent, Origin World. Luo Feng was in secluded cultivation. As the youngest lord, he was comprehending the primordial blade path. In the early stages of comprehension, being in the accumulation stage, there were no bottlenecks, and a large amount of insights continually surged to his mind. Luo Feng, the negotiation failed. Prepare to go to war with the Ice Peak Camp. Yuan's voice sounded. Luo Feng, in seclusion, opened his eyes. It has come. Clad in a blood-colored robe, Luo Feng instantly left his home source world across endless distances, directly to meet up with Yuan. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The assembly point chosen by Yuan was also meticulously considered, being nearest to the slowest, Wulan. Although there were differences in arrival times of the lords, the difference wasn't large, allowing all to gather together. All present. Yuan nodded. Jin, Wulan, Minghuang, Nai Jiyu, Starlight, Mo-Man, Luo Feng, each full of fighting spirit. During the prior council hall meeting, the 8 lords had already decided to first eliminate all other weak forces, then negotiate with the Ice Peak Camp. If the negotiation succeeded, so be it. If not, then go to war. The 3,600 world groups, absolutely not allowed to be occupied. Starlight, do you think the Ice Peak Camp dares to wage war against us? Jin asked. They are not as united as we are. Starlight smiled, facing numerous undying beings. Even the Ice Peak ancestors' control is limited. Our 8 lords jointly threatening them will cause disarray internally. As for whether to go to war, Starlight looked into the distance. It's uncertain. Let's see how strong they are. Lord Naijiu said coldly. Among the cultivator lords, he was considered mediocre, but in facing those ancestors, he was extremely strong. Move out. Yuan ordered. Whoosh. The 8 lords set out together, heading straight for the conquered territory. Usually, the cultivator lords are busy with their own affairs. It's rare for even 2 or 3 to act together. 8 lords' main battle avatars acting together? That's enough to attract attention from all forces across the infinite primordial space. The cultivator camp, 8 lords acting together. Are they going to war with the Ice Peak Camp? Many forces peered from afar, somewhat excited. 8 lords. Individually already extremely intimidating, 8 moving together frightened even smaller forces. Wars among the 3 major camps are the most intense within the infinite primordial space. In this level of warfare, the likelihood of ancestors falling is the highest. Let the battle begin. It'll be exciting when they fight. I bet in the first clash, the cultivator camp will lose. But in a prolonged fight, the Ice Peak Camp probably won't hold out. Haha, it would be best if the cultivator territory of the 3,600 world groups turns into ruins. HMPH, if it really turns into ruins, then the 8 lords will have no worries. That would be the most terrifying. That would be interesting. In the land of eternity, a group of spectators gathered, unfazed by the impending chaos. Besides the 8 lords of the cultivator side and the 12 undying and undying entities from the Ice Peak Camp, the other 9 undying and undying entities all had avatars appearing in the land of eternity. They include the Infinite Snake Ancestor, Inference Fire Ancestor, Initial Ancestor, and the Mother of Spacetime from the Innate Primordial Camp. Moreover, 5 individuals unaffiliated with any faction. These 5 are Mogus, Kafu, Feather Emperor, Demon Ruins, and Hermit. Among these 5, 4 possess strength high enough to be ranked in the top 10 within the infinite primordial space. The hermit, whose strength is unknown, is the only one in the infinite primordial space whose true body cannot be found. These 5 live freely without joining any faction. The more heated the battle, the better. Kafur laughed heartily, clad in white battle armor. Infinite Great Serpent, your innate primordial camp fought the cultivator camp for so long and lost quite a few ancestors, right? If the Ice Peak camp goes to war in a large scale with the cultivator camp, a few ancestors will probably die too. The infinite snake ancestor, unimpressed, said, through the trials of life and death, there's hope for strength improvement. Those who fell only deserved it for their strength wasn't strong enough. Unlike the cultivator lords who are all undying and undying, among over 100 ancestors who participated from the innate primordial camp in the past, only a handful were undying and undying, while most faced the threat of death. Under the threat of death, they fought many battles with the cultivator camp. Some surviving ancestors had gained something, requiring time to slowly assimilate these gains. There are too many ancestors. Mogus, with a chilling aura, spoke as well. Those weaker ancestors should be eliminated. The Ice Peak camp also has 26 ordinary ancestors, some of whom should die. Mogus, if I'm sensing correctly, hasn't your power been wiped out over 95%? Kafur asked. Can you battle against Starlight? Mogus sneered. I may not be able to fight him, but he can't do anything to me either. Kafur shook his head. Unlike you, who only bullies the weak and is powerless against Starlight. Mogus snorted coldly. Initial, the mysterious cubic demon ruin sat beside the absolute spherical initial ancestor. Both shared deep ties. I've heard you recently went to the fire prison wall. In the infinite primordial space, there are several mysterious lands. These lands vary in strength, some particularly powerful, offering not even a hint of hope for the ancestors to refine and control them. The fire prison wall belongs to such lands. The fire prison wall is an endless majestic wall stretching across the length of about 100 world groups, with a width comparable to a world group. Among the mysterious lands, its vastness ranks in the top 3. 99% of the ancestors daring to approach the fire prison wall would be turned to ashes. Wulan once ventured to the fire prison wall and was severely burned, retreating immediately, unable to delve deeper. The only one capable of traversing the fire prison wall is the initial ancestor. The initial ancestor responded, Yanghua, Shoju, and several old friends asked for my assistance, and I led them to the fire prison wall. Back in the ancient times when factions hadn't formed yet, Shoju, Initial, and Demon Ruins were all quite familiar with each other. Did you find the origin of the fire prison wall? Demon Ruins inquired. No, Initial answered. Inference Fire Ancestor nearby also said, even though we traversed the entire fire prison wall, we still couldn't sense the origin of the fire prison wall. If none can sense it, then refining it is even beyond reach, Kafur remarked. In the fire prison wall, the highest level flame power we've discovered has accumulated to 12 kinds, Inference Fire Ancestor expressed with amazement. There, the icy flames can even freeze ancestors, while endless scorching flames burn everything. There's thunder fire, destroying all, ash flame, annihilating everything. Violent flame. The simultaneous cover of multiple flames can only be traversed by initial. If the fire prison wall has an origin, it at least contains 12 kinds of highest level power. To refine it? One would have to master nearly half of the highest level power, Infinite Snake Ancestor stated, across all creatures in the infinite primordial space. At most 2 highest level powers are mastered. That's why fire prison wall can't be refined. It's indeed impossible, conceded Inference Fire Ancestor. Any ancestor who excelled in flames harbors ambitions for the fire prison wall. Such a terrifying mysterious land, once controlled, would certainly upgrade one's strength significantly. Such as Inference Fire Ancestor, currently one of the 9 emperors, with slightly lesser strength than Infinite Snake Ancestor. But if one were to grasp the fire prison wall, surely, they'd overpower Infinite Snake Ancestor. They might even aspire to claim the strongest position within the infinite primordial space. Of course, places like the fire prison wall, the land of eternity, abyss of destruction, are renowned for their strength and show no prospect of refining. Inside the vast and majestic palace, The Ice Peak ancestor amongst 12 entities gathered here. Look, a grand figure pointed with its massive hand, revealing a scene in the midair of the 8 cultivator lords on their journey. It's evident what the 8 lords of the cultivator side intend. They will directly initiate war if we try to take control of these world groups. This grand figure, with a body like Yellowstone, glared furiously at those present. I, Xiao Saiwei, have not encroached upon a single world group in the cultivator territory, nor taken a share of any resources. Regardless of whether you join this war, I, Xiao Saiwei, will not participate. Xiao Saiwei. We 12 are whole. Once a collective decision is made, you must join the battle. The 3 rulers of Feng Lei Si immediately came out to rebuke angrily. After all, we are whole. Wugu ancestor also spoke, being the only true body here, he had the most at stake. Xiao Saiwei sneered, if I don't join the battle, what can you do to me? Ice Peak ancestor watched this scene, feeling a headache as well. The Ice Peak camp, 12 undying beings, along with the other 26 ancestors. It seemed imposing. But precisely because the upper echelons were undying, they were very difficult to manage. Even the weakest, the 3 rulers of Feng Lei Si, were quite troublesome. Compared to the 8 lords of the cultivator camp, they are evenly matched with us 12. We also have 26 ancestors. Once the war officially starts, we have the absolute advantage. We can crush them like dry weeds and rotten wood, and even occupy a wider territory. Teach the cultivator camp a lesson. Let them understand that an alliance with us, Ice Peak camp, must be led by us. You 2 fools, when the cultivator camp was weak, we were the leaders. But now they can even fight with the innate primordial camp which comprises hundreds of ancestors. Would they still fear us? I haven't invaded the cultivator territory, nor sought resources. My thoughts are clear, I definitely won't join the battle. A small figure finished speaking and then disappeared directly. Gone. Pu Cheng actually left early. The 3 rulers of Feng Lei Si were extremely furious. Shut up then. Ice Peak ancestor glanced at the 3 rulers of Feng Lei Si, wanting to expel them from the Ice Peak camp, but because back then 12 existences from the land of eternity allied together, lacking sufficient reason, it wasn't good to expel them directly. Pu Cheng left. Ice Peak ancestor scanned the surroundings, his attitude is clear, he won't join the battle. What about you all? I also won't join the battle. Xiao Saiwei said, our Ice Peak camp, like the innate primordial camp, needs a lot of resources to grow the life core. But the 8 lords of the cultivator camp focus on enlightenment. They don't care about resources. I don't understand why have a fallout over invading world groups. The cultivator camp has always relied on us. Now they've become powerful and started turning against us. I think it's time for a fight. The ancestors who relied on us only enjoy the resources, it's time to make them fight desperately. There were quite a few present wanting to start a war. Ice Peak ancestor felt quite a headache, quietly transmitted a message to Shoju. Beside him, the grey-cloaked woman, Shoju, glanced at Ice Peak ancestor and looked around before speaking. This war is meaningless, I won't join. Suddenly, the hall quieted down. Shoju won't join? Shoju and Starlight Lord rank among the top 2 in strength in infinite primordial space. If Shoju doesn't join, and neither do Pu Cheng and Xiao Saiwei, this war could be lost. The 12 undying beings, with the 3 rulers of Feng Lei Si at the bottom, yet the others were getting stronger. Pu Cheng's strength could match a cultivator lord. Hence, he dared to lead first, not giving face to anyone. Xiao Saiwei's strength could also rank in the top 30 in endless primordial space. Pu Cheng, Xiao Saiwei, and eldest sister Shoju won't join the battle. I feel this war has no assurance, it's not suitable to start a war. Ice Peak ancestors' gaze swept over the surroundings, return all previously occupied world groups to the cultivator camp. Any opinions? No opposing voices arose from the hall. They've decided to retreat. Luofeng and others were on their way. Starlight Lord suddenly spoke. Retreated? Yuan showed a joyful expression. To be honest, the lords were still very concerned about the numerous creature worlds in their territories. Most of the 12 undying beings in the Ice Peak camp were belligerent. They didn't care about the lives of the lower levels at all. Xiao Saiwei and Pu Cheng were among the few who cared about their own clans. They also worried about full-scale war affecting their own clans. During negotiations with Ice Peak Ancestor later, follow my lead. Starlight Ancestor could glimpse countless future possibilities, some of which once pushed almost certainly become reality. Okay. Yuan nodded, trusting Starlight was the right choice. Half a day later. Led by Starlight Lord, the 8 lords came together to the border area of the Fallen Territory. On Ice Peak Camp's side, 6 figures appeared, Ice Peak Ancestor and 5 others came to greet them. Elder Brother Yuan, don't be angry. Ice Peak Ancestor smiled as he approached. You said to start a war, after some intimidation. I barely managed to unify the internal opinions. What opinion? Yuan asked. Of course, to return the occupied territories. Ice Peak Ancestor said with a smile, it's unnecessary for our sides to go to war. Just return them? I checked carefully, your Ice Peak camp was quite ruthless, plundering wantonly, even devouring many source world origins. Yuan said coldly, now just returning the territories, and you think it's enough? Ice Peak Ancestor slightly frowned, feeling a bit unhappy. Not going to war had his secret encouragement. But he, Ice Peak Ancestor, also cared about face. What do you want? Ice Peak Ancestor looked at Yuan. I don't ask you to compensate much, return all resources plundered in the cultivator territory. Yuan said, then the matter is settled. Otherwise, however robbed, I will rob back double. Ice Peak Ancestor nodded expressionlessly, I can promise you. Ice Peak. Beside him, Wugu Ancestor and the 3 rulers of Feng Lei were somewhat anxious. They had seized the most, should they return it? I said, I promised. Ice Peak Ancestor glanced at them, whoever is unwilling, negotiate with the cultivator camp yourself. Wugu Ancestor and the 3 rulers of Feng Lei could only endure. Just them alone? Facing 8 cultivator lords, they would be completely torn apart. Elder Brother Yuan. Ice Peak Ancestor looked at Yuan, smiling slightly, your cultivator camp has changed. At least in facing Ice Peak Ancestor, the attitude had become much tougher than before. I also have to report to the other 7 lords. Yuan looked at Ice Peak Ancestor, believe Ice Peak you can also understand. Understand. Ice Peak Ancestor nodded. The 2 looked at each other. Both understood that some things had changed. Soon, everyone from Ice Peak Camp left, and Wugu Ancestor, along with the 3 rulers of Feng Lei, would need to return all plundered resources shortly. Invading our cultivator territory, making them retreat and return the plundered resources, is already quite lenient. Jin said coldly, according to my temper, whatever they looted, we should counter-loot 10 times. Our strength is still insufficient. Starlight spoke, forcing them to return the plunder is already the maximum extent. Asking for more? With Ice Peak's arrogance, they would certainly go to war. If he decides to go to war, Shoju will definitely join. Luo Feng had just become a lord and hadn't interacted much with Ice Peak Camp, only silently watching all this. No matter what, the cultivator territory of 3,600 world groups has been completely recovered. Yuan showed a smile, looking at Luo Feng by his side. Luckily Luo Feng broke through to become a new lord, otherwise, who knows what would happen to the cultivator territory. The other lords also felt good at the moment. Until now, this war could be considered completely victorious. The cultivator territory has been completely reclaimed, and only then did the 8 lords truly relax. Starlight, those damaged spacetime nets need you to rearrange them. Yuan requested. It's simple to destroy, but troublesome to arrange. Starlight Lord rarely showed a trace of helplessness. To repair all the damaged spacetime nets, it will take at least a millennium of busy work. At the time when it was decided to expand the territory, the cultivators chose the densest group of 3,600 worlds, precisely because some world groups were too far apart, making the arrangement of time nets extremely difficult. Starlight Lord is now just repairing the spacetime nets of a few hundred world groups, which already requires a millennium of effort. Brother Starlight, if you need help, just let us know. Luo Feng said. Repairing the space-time nets just requires some special materials. Wulan chuckled on the side. Starlight is far richer than you, Luo Feng. There's no need for you to help. Starlight shook his head. I do have a very important matter that requires Luo Feng's help. Oh? Luo Feng was curious. Once everything is ready, I'll discuss it with you in detail. Starlight smiled slightly. As the being with the strongest temporal insight in the endless primordial space, he was the one who understood it the most. He also had some troubles, but no other lord could assist him, and he thought that once Luo Feng, who mastered 2 primordial paths, appeared, he might be able to help. In the future observed by Starlight, Luo Feng, who masters the 2 paths of life and death, would have much stronger combat power. All right, feel free to call on me anytime. Luo Feng nodded. He admired Starlight greatly, for Starlight's contributions to the entire cultivator camp were immense. As soon as Starlight spoke, Luo Feng was naturally willing to assist. Jin watched this scene from the side. He and Luo Feng were considered a perfect combination. With Luo Feng around, he could use the forbidden technique of his burning main battle avatar as a common technique. Luo Feng could also shield him from numerous dangers. Yet, a trace of dissatisfaction in his heart made Jin reluctant to speak further. Luo Feng, if you're willing to help Starlight, you'll have to help me in the future as well. Lord Mo Man laughed. Whenever I'm free, I surely will. Luo Feng replied. Ming Huang smiled slightly on the side, as she now understood Luo Feng's nature, knowing that if she asked, Luo Feng would definitely assist. Jin, Mo Man, and Ming Huang, these 3, were very suitable for collaborating with Luo Feng. Once they cooperated, they could even achieve an effect greater than the sum of their individual parts. Next, let's properly rebuild the previously ruined territories. Yuan said. All the lords nodded. In their respective territories, there were parts that had fallen. During the fall, they all suffered varying degrees of damage. The cultivator territory entered a major construction phase, and the entire camp finally returned to calm. The innate primordial camp, which suffered significant losses, and the ice peak camp, which recently faced setbacks, no longer dared to offend the cultivator camp. As for other weaker forces, at this time, they dared not emerge at all. The 3,600 world groups gradually resumed their usual lives. Within one of the source worlds of the Dark World group, inside a sealed cave mansion, there was only one creature, living in solitude here. Hold on. I must hold on. A figure curled up there, trembling, his consciousness sinking and struggling in countless illusory realms. He was precisely the city builder of Yulon City, Yuan Xiong Palace Master, who, after leaving Yulon City to Luo Feng, dismissed all external avatars and returned home to his source world to fully resist the pollution. But over time, the pollution of memories grew heavier, and he could no longer regain consciousness, constantly struggling in illusions. His strong will to survive still struggled on. Unwilling. Struggling out of one illusion, only to face yet another. He couldn't even distinguish between reality and illusion. I can't tell what's real and what's illusion. Yuan Xiong Palace Master felt immense pain. Being able to realize, can't distinguish, means I haven't completely succumbed. Yuan Xiong Palace Master's consciousness had been deeply corrupted by pollution, only his strong will was sustaining him. Brother Yuan Xiong, Brother Yuan Xiong. A voice rang out. Rumble. A force broke through the closed cave mansion, appearing beside Yuan Xiong Palace Master. I've sent messages, yet there's no response. You've completely lost control of even your own cave mansion. This figure watched the twisted, trembling Yuan Xiong Palace Master, gently shaking his head. This was his guide on the path of cultivation, once mastering 2.5 primordial paths. Now, he couldn't even control his own cave mansion. He couldn't allocate even a single thought, losing all perception of the outside world. Brother, your luck is truly good. This blue-robed figure stretched out his hand, held a jade vial, and a drop of crystal-clear dew fell, landing on Yuan Xiong Palace Master, merging into his body. This crystal-clear dewdrop fused into Yuan Xiong Palace Master's soul, cleansing away all impurities, strengthening his soul considerably. Yuan Xiong Palace Master opened his eyes, staring blankly at the cave mansion scene before him, looking at the blue-robed man in front of him. This is reality. Yuan Xiong Palace Master felt unprecedented certainty. At this moment, he was in peak condition. He could even fully exert his pinnacle strength. Although memory pollution was still present, his powerful soul was fully able to suppress the pollution. Du Fang, my dear friend, what is going on? Yuan Xiong Palace Master looked at his old hometown friend. The pollution brought by high-level primordial life. Logically, only my spiritual will breaking out of the cage can resist it. How do I suddenly feel better? I even feel my soul has become much stronger. This is a drop of life dew bestowed by the great Lord Luo Feng. Du Fang smiled. He instructed me to bring it to you. This drop of life dew can transform and strengthen your soul, naturally suppressing the pollution. For a lord, solving memory pollution brought by merely high-level primordial life can have many solutions. A drop of life dew that nourishes the soul is enough. Lord Luo Feng also said, if one needs to completely solve memory pollution, they can visit him in the Dark World group. He will personally erase this memory pollution hidden in your soul, Du Fang said. The Lord also mentioned that this pollution becomes harmless and instead offers a honing effect once your soul grows stronger. Yuan Xiong Palace Master listened in a daze. Lord Luo Feng? Yuan Xiong Palace Master, since returning to his hometown source world, had self-sealed himself, focusing solely on fighting pollution and was unaware of matters outside. Just not long ago, our cultivator camp birthed a new great lord. Lord Luo Feng. Du Fang said with excitement and pride. Lord Luo Feng, allied with Yuan, Jin, and other lords, thoroughly defeated the innate primordial camp. We have already won this war completely. The Dark World Group, as the hometown of Lord Luo Feng, has been greatly developed. The present Dark Sacred Realm is far more prosperous than before, with Lord Luo Feng's true body residing there permanently, served by thousands of high-level primordial life, and frequently visited by world-level primordial life. Yuan Xiong Palace Master listened in shock. That talented young junior Luo Feng, who solved the disaster in Yulon City, became the highest-level existence lord in the endless primordial space. Yuan Xiong Palace Master was well aware that lords were the true pinnacle existence in endless primordial space, for ancestors had flaws and could fall. But lords were truly undying and immortal. Luo Feng became a lord. Yuan Xiong Palace Master still vividly remembered the first scene when meeting Luo Feng. Back then, he felt Luo Feng had great potential, stronger than Wei Yan Palace Master and Master Gai Dao, so he gifted 50 billion primordial crystals. As for later contributions to Yulon City, that was because Yulon City faced a life-and-death calamity, and Luo Feng was the savior of Yulon City, which doesn't qualify as a favor. The true favor was the 50 billion primordial crystals. To the then weak Luo Feng, it was of great help. One must know that before this, Luo Feng could only practice impoverished cultivation methods, unwilling to purchase primordial bloodline references. Lord Luo Feng said, "You can go to the Dark Holy Land to meet him at any time." Du Fang was very envious that a weak cultivator within a braided cage wished to meet the true body of a lord. So rare. I understand. Yuan Xiong Palace Master was well aware that his single act of goodwill earned a return of far over billions of times. The favor towards a lord? Only when the lord was very weak was there hope to achieve it. Dark World Group. Luo Feng gazed into the distance, his eyes penetrating countless barriers and seeing Yuan Xiong Palace Master at that moment. Through his journey, he remembered those who had shown him goodwill. Time to go to the land of eternity. With a thought, Luo Feng immediately projected a mind in a void space close to the land of eternity in the infinite distance, starting to gradually condense his avatar. If it were warfare, naturally, a main battle avatar would be dispatched. Because avatars absorbed energy too slowly, restoring to the strength of a main battle avatar, efficiency in traveling would be far greater. Merely attending the land of eternity required only a regular avatar. Who? Amongst the floating mountains of a primordial void, a Luo Feng avatar was formed, then began gradually absorbing energy. The avatar was very weak and naturally absorbed very little energy. As time progressed, snowballing seemed to occur, with the avatar gradually strengthening and absorbing more energy. Approximately 1 Earth day later, it finally restored to about 3/10,000ths of energy reserves. Barely considered a weak avatar? Capable of clearing all world-level primordial life. Go to the land of eternity. Only then did Luo Feng head towards the land of eternity. No choice, the land of eternity's suppression of outsiders is terrifyingly strong. Only with Luo Feng's body's robust nature, possessing energy reserves of 3/10,000ths, could he be fully confident of not being pulverized. Luo Feng's avatar condensed in a region very close to the land of eternity. Utilizing the shadow power condensed into a bloody robe on the surface, Luo Feng reached the land of eternity in merely a moment. Boom! Luo Feng gazed upon this vast and flat land, feeling considerable pressure. His energy reserve of 3/10,000ths equated to Lord Mo Man's reserve of about 3%. He still felt pressured, evidently indicating that this environment only suited ancestor-level and Lord-level life forms. In the center of this vast, flat land, there was only one ancient round table alongside now 29 quaintly arranged seats. Lord Luo Feng has arrived. A peculiar cubicle structure, its voice resounding in Luo Feng's ear, carried goodwill. Your seat has long been prepared, you came only today. Kafu, dressed in white battle armor, smiled, looking at Luo Feng. One by one, silhouettes appeared. As long as the first imprint was left on the seat, one could later project thereupon thought, avoiding further suppressive consequences from the land of eternity. Soon, a total of 28 silhouettes entirely emerged and became visible. Including 7 lords from the cultivator camp before, 4 of the 9 emperors of the innate primordial camp, 12 from the ice peak camp, and 5 independents, they all looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng also moved next to a seat, a strand of power permeating the seat, and with a thought, refining took place. The instant of refining, utilizing the land of eternity, Luo Feng sensed these 28 entities. Among us, we have gained a new companion, Lord Luo Feng. The peculiar cubicle structure, demon ruin sounded with strength, filled with joy. In the endless primordial space, only these undying and immortal existences can continuously play the role of chess players. The others, the ancestors, though strong, cease to exist once fallen. Only they embodied eternity. Today they welcomed their new companion, Lord Luo Feng. The land of eternity, 29 beings rarely gathered. Luo Feng, when will your celebration as a lord take place? Kafu asked with a smile. I haven't been to your cultivator territory for a long time, so I could also take the opportunity to explore it well. The other undying beings also looked at Luo Feng. For Luo Feng's celebration, they would almost all send avatars to attend. The mysterious land I control, the Blood Crane territory, is currently migrating back to the cultivator territory, Luo Feng said with a smile. Once the Blood Crane territory reaches my hometown, that will be the time for the celebration. Those who rely on controlling a mysterious land to remain undying usually hold their celebrations in the mysterious land, so no one was surprised by Luo Feng's decision. Sister Shoju, do you have time to venture into the Tong Valley together? The peculiar cube demon ruins asked. All right. The grey-robed woman Shoju nodded. I can go whenever. Let's set off after this gathering. Demon Ruins looked around. Anyone who wants to join us can come along. Together, the infinite snake ancestor also chimed in. In total, 6 undying beings were willing to journey together to the Tong Valley. Luo Feng listened from the side. He had also learned much about the mysterious lands from the information cache of the land of origin. Tong Valley is a mysterious valley nurtured by the endless primordial space, where terrifying attacks descend without pattern. Only a handful have crossed the entire Tong Valley. The greatest benefit of the Tong Valley is experiencing attacks that surpass all life forms. It has a certain impact on exploring one's own path forward. Shoju has visited the Tong Valley the most, and some of her killing techniques were developed based on the attacks of the Tong Valley. The 29 beings of the Land of Eternity, and the 4 major factions. Luo Feng observed their conversation and noticed some interesting points. The innate primordial camp, cultivator camp, ice peak camp, and the independent faction. The first three major factions hardly pay attention to each other. Instead, the proposals from the independent faction are more likely to be accepted by all parties. We 8 lords of the cultivators are indeed different. Luo Feng listened to the conversation. These ancestors meet for adventures, meet to explore treasures. But the cultivator lords rarely get involved. The cultivator lords mainly rely on enlightenment, occasionally exploring mysterious lands that resonate with them. As for other resources, protecting the resources of the 3,600 world groups is enough. They have no ambition for resources in a broader territory. After traveling for a full 10 eras, the mysterious land, Blood Crane territory, finally arrived at the Dark World Group. Now the Dark World Group has been renamed the Galaxy World Group, and the Dark Sacred Realm has been renamed the Galaxy Sacred Realm. This is something every lord does. Each will rename their absolute territory to a name they like. Blood Crane territory, vast and boundless, is home to over 7.5 billion high-level primordial life forms. Blood Crane territory clan. Only a small portion remains under Luo Feng's command, while others have been sent to work hard in other lords' territories. This is the case for all 8 cultivator lords. Even if they personally enslave high-level primordial and world-level primordial, they will still share with the entire camp. The celebration is finally over. Luo Feng sent off many guests. Even the innate primordial camp sent avatars, with 6 emperors including the infinite snake ancestor, and there were as many as 31 avatars from the ordinary ancestor. The Ice Peak camp also sent as many as 21 avatars, along with avatars from many weaker forces. More than 100 ancestor avatars came to witness. The number of ancestor avatars from the spectators can also reflect the influence of the celebration host in the endless primordial space. Like the 3 emperors of the Thunder Sea, their celebrations attract far fewer spectators. We've left. Brother Luo Feng, no need to see us off. After all the other guests departed, the other 7 cultivator lords left one by one, with only Lord Mo Man remaining at the end. Luo Feng. Mo Man approached Luo Feng and said, "You promised to help me before. Right now?" Luo Feng asked, "I can set off any time." Mo Man smiled upon hearing this, pleased with Luo Feng's straightforwardness. "It's not time yet. There's a very special mysterious land, Fluctuation Land, which I can only discover once every 100,000 eras. It will appear again in about 5,000 eras. Once it appears, we must set out immediately." "Okay, no problem," Luo Feng responded. "Thanks." Mo Man took a step, and his entire figure transformed into a wave and disappeared. Luo Feng stood amidst the endless blood sea, the blood-colored robe on his body fluttering in the air. "Finally, I have time to retreat completely and contemplate the primordial blade path. Luo Feng thought as he gazed into the distance. Not far away in spacetime is the origin continent source world. Blood Crane territory is very close to the origin continent source world. If, in the future, unthinkable crises arise, Luo Feng will move the Blood Crane territory again. It would take only a few moments for the Blood Crane territory to reach close to the origin continent. The endless blood sea can fully protect the origin continent source world. According to known circumstances, nothing should be able to threaten the source world where I personally reside. But the source world of my hometown is related to the life and safety of my relatives and friends. With the origin continent source world in place, I can easily resurrect creatures. But if the source world is gone, there's no way to resurrect. Luo Feng must ensure that the hometown source world is safe and sound. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In the endless primordial space, conflict never stops. The Ice Peak camp, which was just at a loss in the cultivator camp, had some ancestors bully weaker forces around them, forcibly taking more resources. These weaker forces refuse to join the major camps. They do have some confidence, and naturally, the fights are fierce. The innate primordial camp and the cultivator camp remain relatively quiet, having fought too fiercely before. One side lost 11 ancestors, the other saw many territories fall, and numerous source worlds were destroyed. Both sides are now resting and recuperating. This time, the war was truly worth it. A colossal sphere of light, containing endless light within. This is the true body of the infinite ancestor. As one of the top 3 powers of the innate primordial camp, the infinite ancestor has never reached the stage of undying and undying. Therefore, it stands firmly with the main battle faction. It needs enough trials, needs ample resources, to help itself advance further. Through the long ages, countless obstacles, until today, I have finally grasped the hope of undying and undying, truly seeing the path ahead clearly. At this moment, the infinite ancestor is very joyful. I must thank this war, must thank Lord Luo Feng. It was due to Luo Feng's origin great destruction, the terrifying might of that swept over a vast area, as the infinite ancestor focused on rescuing companions, its endless light endured the impact under Luo Feng's origin great destruction. That terrifying energy storm. That incredibly dazzling light. Sweeping across dozens of ancestors, gravely injuring as many as 26 ancestors. That is the true endless light. Endless light should have infinite might. The infinite ancestor understands, that is its path forward. It only needs to go further, then it can transform into that incredibly dazzling light. To have infinite might, I need to be even purer. Even the life core must completely integrate into the light. At that time, the life core will be everywhere, can appear in any ray of light in the endless primordial space, then I will be truly undying and undying. The infinite ancestor glimpsed its path, then immediately began absorbing the resources accumulated over the long ages. With resources supplied, actively guiding the growth of the life core also starts to transform very slowly. This process is also full of hardships and obstacles. The clearer the understanding of the path ahead, the smoother the life core transformation can be. Where is my path? Silent Extinction Ancestor, one of the 9 emperors of the innate primordial camp, is also one of the top 3 powers within the camp. It also searches bitterly for the path to undying and undying, yet finds no hope. I explore all possibilities, only one path has a glimmer of hope. To achieve undying and undying, one must first return to silent extinction, seeking immortality in extinction. But this path, the likelihood of complete death is probably over 99%. Silent Extinction Ancestor sighed. This path, it is unwilling to take. Because the possibility of success is too slim. In terms of strength, it already rivals the Cultivator Lords. Even if the Cultivator Lords joined forces, they can't kill it. There's only a theoretical possibility of it being killed. Such an existence, how could it gamble on a path with a death rate over 99%? Marvelous, marvelous, marvelous. In the Cultivator camp, in the land of origin, Yuan is currently reading the legacy written by Luo Feng. Brother Luo Feng's research on origin can be described as the best in the entire infinite primordial space. Yuan is very delighted. The 8 lords all have achieved enlightenment. Their depth of research is generally much greater than that of the ancestors. Luo Feng's primordial life and death Tao focuses on life, with the origin system being the core of his path. My path just needs the origin system. Yuan carefully studies the legacy, absorbing the parts beneficial to himself. The primordial rule operation path he practices, as the number of Divine King ultimate realm paths he discerns increases, the power of this rule operation path also enhances. But Yuan failed in his attempt to create a source world. It is because the source world requires, besides rule operation, the integration of many DAOs into origin. Luo Feng, it's the life and death origin. And I need to combine many great DAOs into origin. A source world requires at least 9 great DAOs. 9 great DAOs combined into origin. Much more complex than Luo Feng's life and death origin. Yuan is also quite troubled. The primordial life and death DAO is a fused single DAO, due to its many characteristics in the direction of life, can easily transform into origin, constructing 1,080,000,000 origins with ease. At least 9 great DAOs to be combined into origin. If I pursue more great DAOs, the origin integration system becomes even more complex. Despite feeling that the road is difficult, Yuan is still very joyful. Because Luo Feng's very detailed origin system has pointed him in the direction. But once successful, the primordial rule operation path, with an added origin system, that will be a true qualitative change. Inside as origin, outside as rule operation. Internal and external as one, can then create the source world. At least the path ahead is clear. Yuan continued to practice in seclusion. The 8 lords of the cultivator camp each had their own affairs. Starlight diligently repaired various parts of the space-time net. Jin once again ventured alone to explore the abyss of destruction. Mo Man continued to roam, transformed into ripples in the endless primordial space. Wulan leisurely nurtured the bloodline descendants, while Luo Feng was comprehending the primordial blade path within the blood crane territory. Unconsciously, 3,000 eras have passed. This episode is end here.